We're back for part two. We're going to call it Raw Reasoning with Ras Iwara. Um, Waiting on everybody to come back on. Raw Reasoning with Ras Iwara. Trust me, this is a lecture. I'm loving the information. All right, let me get on back, Ras Iwara. Gonna wait about 30 seconds just to get back everybody on. Um, all right, yes. If you had sent your question, please resend it because we started the live over. Lost the questions that you sent in. So please resend the questions that you had sent in. I'll say that again because I see some more persons are coming on. So if you had sent in a question, please resend it by clicking the question tab at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. You'll see a question mark. Just click on that and type in your question. All right, I see a question. All right, this person is asking, Bread Ricketts is asking, or is it BB, whatever. How often do you cleanse? I do it 2 times a year, spring and fall. Is there a reason to cleanse per se? Or would that if you are eating the fruit that a fruit if we were on a fruit lifestyle, would we have to have a season where we actually cleanse, or is the fruit lifestyle?
Yeah, I mean, if you're on a fruit lifestyle, then cleansing is almost like that's what you're doing because you're almost cleansing as you go along, you know. So no, I mean, unless somebody had some major issue from some accident or something and they're trying to deal with that issue, they will then bring in some herbal botanicals, right? So herbal botanicals, as I say, you bring that in when you're really compromised. But how often do I cleanse? That's a question that has a lot of variables because it depends on how you eat. It depends on how much of what you eat. So, and when you're cleansing, what kind of program you're on. So somebody is saying like, I cleanse 2 times a year, spring and fall, but I don't know what kind of cleanse that is because some people say they're drinking shakes and they're cleansing, and some people are drinking juices, some people are eating fruit. So it has a lot of variables. But what I would encourage people to do is first of all, when you get up in the morning, you know, the term break fast is suggesting that you're breaking your fast. And so my good friend and mentor Aris Latam would say you take an internal shower because everybody jump up in the morning and take an external shower. So you take an internal shower, and that's your coconut water, your more electrifying foods, one with more higher electrolytes, you know, your coconut water, your watermelon, and then you go into the more denser stuff at the later time. When it's sun midday, that's when you're eating your denser meal, and then you tone back down in the evening. That's just how life is. Also, we have to remember that every one of us who own a car, especially a new car, and there is a scheduled time for what? To go back to the dealer to get your car serviced. And so we have to service our body. As I said, it's kind of difficult to give her time, but I would say do a 1 week fast out of every month if you're eating regular foods, steamed vegetables and so forth. Do a 1 week cleanse if you're not having any major issue pointing itself, take a break. Fasting is really the key. So that's
When
what
you
I
say
can say.
fasting, you mean no food? That's what you mean by fasting? I
Well,
just
really
just
and
to be
truly,
clear.
you're right. That's a good question because fasting actually is implying that you hold fast, and that's when you close your mouth. Don't hold fast. But no, we're encouraging you to, because what happened now when you fast and coconut water, watermelon, and fruits, they're now pushing the cleanse because of the nature of the antioxidants and the astringents and so forth. So it is even more expressive when you fast on your fruits,
Oh,
because it has the ability to gives you the energy while it is expressing. So while you're detoxifying, then you're getting energy coming in. So that's why we encourage you to fast on fruit. So we're saying fasting, but we mean fasting in terms of coming off of what you were on, those magnetic
okay,
builders, those starch
okay.
foods and those heavy foods, and go with the more energetics.
Like the 21 days raw.
Definitely.
Let me. Meeks is asking if plant-based protein powder is good
If it's good,
for you. Is
I
that
I
good?
I personally don't recommend any of those things. I
Mm.
personally don't recommend any of those things. I mean, you have proteins that are worse than other proteins. The body finds it very difficult to absorb it. But at the end of the day, it's just proteins that are really like, pea protein, and so forth. I don't really recommend those things, but as I say, for some persons who are coming off of heavy meat, beef, whatever thing, and if they feel like they have to have it, they only have to have it because of their mental state, though, not because the body requires it most times. And no, you know.
Okay. What about what about those persons who say they're starting, like let's say somebody starts eating raw. Um, what effect would that have? Would they feel ill? Because some persons are saying they can't do it because when they start, they feel like they're lacking something and they feel nauseous, they feel sick or whatever. What tip or advice or what is actually happening, why they feel that way?
Yeah, well, what happened is that it's common to hear somebody say, I went vegan or I went raw, and boy, I had to stop because my hair was dropping out, or I was losing this and that. But that's the part I'm telling you, that nature doesn't build on its weakness. So what it is doing basically, it is going to, you know, the best example I can give you when that starts to take place of what really is happening is this. You have a plant, and it's a big plant. It's already gone past its nursery stage. So think of a coconut tree, and the leaves begin to get yellow. The jellies are not big anymore, and they're not, thriving well. And you realize that it's the environment that the tree is in that's causing the issue. And you decide to transplant it. Now, this is already a mature coconut tree, not something in a nursery stage. So when you transplant it, what do you think it's gonna look like within the first 2 weeks? Its head's gonna hang. It's look like it's dying. That's what happens to every plant that you transplant, because that's how nature does that. But during that time, that's when you're gonna see the yellow leaves start to fall off and whatever. And then when that process is complete, then it starts to
Mhm.
take on to the new environment, and then it blossoms and it looks nice and it starts to bloom and pretty. And then you same one say, yo, you can't believe what a tree they start grow so big again. And whatever. So
So
what
it's
happens
the
is that we compromise that
process.
that process because we're like, yo, it look like you're dying. And I understand why. But I've been doing detox with people, and they have been all those issues happening and so forth, you know, and that's because nature does not build on its weakness. You know, it's not this thing where, you know, in everything in life, you're building a house and you're going way up top, and the foundation not right. You know, you take it down, clear it down, and set back up, set back and go up again. So that's what nature is doing. Nature is getting rid of where it needs to regenerate these cells and get rid of what is really causing issues and so forth. And that's when we really freak out a lot of the time. You know,
So
so that's
everybody
what
who is
happens.
listening, you hear that? Because a lot of persons start these things and stop because they say, oh, it's not good for me because I start feel
Um,
sick and whatever. Nature does not build on its weakness. So just go through that process.
you have to just manage that process. I mean, if you have to really, what you want to do, don't jump back off in totality. What you really want to do, you know, if you want to, I think at that point in time, what you want to do is go, all right. So in a case like that, say for example, I'm doing only fruits, right? And I find that I'm pushing my acids very aggressive. And remember, your skin is a filter. Your skin is a kidney, just like it's one of the kidneys you have. And so you might find that even your face start get bump up more.
That did happen to be high.
Yeah, you start have pimples and you start have all kind of issues because you're filtering out your acids through that direction as well. So if you're pushing it very aggressive, what you want to do is that you slow that down. And the best way to slow it down is slow it down with vegetables.
Okay.
Yeah, slow it down with vegetables. The only person who doesn't understand that vegetable really slow down a cleanse is somebody who has never been on a straight fruit diet. But once you're on a straight fruit diet and you go back to vegetables, you're slowing it down. So that's the
Uh,
best way to slow it down because you want to slow it down in a way where it's just being slowed down, but it's not taking backward steps. So
okay.
vegetables, they are not as expressive, but at the same time they do not acidify the body. So if you're on fruits and you feel like you can't go no more, then slow it down with your vegetables because your vegetable is not gonna undo what you have already done. So that's the best way to do it. But you don't want to jump back into your dense materials and all that stuff.
Okay, so I just going to repeat that because it's a good point. So if you start the 21 days wrong, you're eating your fruits and stuff, and you're feeling, you start it, detox through your face and all of these things. Um, or you feel nauseous, some people complain about that. Then you can slow it down by eating more of your vegetables, as in your leafy greens. And that's what
Yeah,
you.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And I mean, especially if you steam it, that's definitely slowing it down. Because I don't know how we're going to, or who is going to really stand up and debate the whole thing that cook foods is better than raw foods. It's definitely not a debate. So if you really want to slow it down, even just doing raw vegetables, the nature of the chemistry of vegetables will slow it down on a frugivorous person, on a frugivorous being. So if you really want to slow it down, you do some steam callaloo, steam whatever and thing. I ain't encouraging that, but I'm just saying in your transition, if you're, you know, whatever, then that's the way to slow it down. You don't slow it down and think, say, oh, we can't bother with this and go eat back some yam and rare. No.
So that's a tip. That's a tip. Um, if you feel funny, eat the raw veg. I am saying raw veg. I'm not saying steamed veg. Eat the raw veg. Just slow it down. Um, somebody else has a question. Let me ask. All right. I would add, what is the best way to go vegan, or I would say plant-based raw? What's the best way? Just cold turkey? What's the best way to go? Uh,
Well, it really depends. I mean, but generally, if it's somebody who is just moving over, then what you want to do first of all is you don't want to limit what you're eating in terms of, you know, your fruit intake or your vegetable intake because you're coming from density and you're now looking for that. You know, remember, like the stomach is almost like a fish size and it has an elasticity to it. And you've been eating all this yam dumpling and you used to this wok. And a lot of the times why we eat a lot of that food is because it's so nutrient void that you're eating more to get some nutrients. So you keep eating because, you know, once your body is getting the nutrients for the most part, then you tend to want to slow down on the eating. So one of the reasons why we continue to eat in those food more than we should be eating is because they're nutrient void. So what you do is that you eat so when a lot of persons when they're going vegan or they're going raw, you said to them have fruit for breakfast and they say but try it now I couldn't do it, and you say what you eat, them say me eat a banana and a half an orange. But if they were to have a regular breakfast, they'll have three toasts, some scarlet, all of this density. So what you want to do is when you're coming over, right? You're gonna eat. That's the point when you're gonna eat a lot of your fruit. If you have to eat a dozen East Indian mango, eat it.
See, me never, me do say that never wrong with me, you know.
No, just eat it. You just continue to do that and stock up, stock up. And if you look at, you see, think about it. When you eating what you're supposed to eat initially, when you're just going back to find yourself, if you look at a baby that is eating nothing but mother's breast milk, the baby eats, sleep, and poop. The baby eats very often. If you look at a cow that's eating nothing but grass, it keeps grazing throughout. The cow keeps eating right throughout the day. So when you go on fruits, don't eat now and try to do this three-course meal like you're eating main meal to now and you're just eating right through the day. Like eating is your job. Just eat. Just eat. That's it.
That's
And
what I
that's the
said.
point. Don't leave space in between that when that feeling of hunger come upon you because cycle that are going to want to pull you back to where you go. So just keep feeding yourselves. Keep taking in your sugars. Keep taking in your sugars. So
And
you
for
drink
those
that.
who were not on, when he says sugars, he means fruit.
Oh
Not,
yeah.
I just telling those, because just in case somebody's new to the life, when he says sugar, he's talking about fruit.
Yeah, man, definitely. So you know, you just keep taking in all your needs, but eat. Just keep eating, and don't be afraid either. If you can do this on a mono diet, meaning you could eat nothing but grapes. Don't
Mm.
worry about it. You could eat. And when you're cleansing is even the better part. Eat nothing but grapefruits. Or just eat. I mean, I did Artinique oranges for so long one time, and I was like, wow, you could just live on Artinique oranges. It's really carbon.
So
You get it.
but that one fruit would be able to let's say that's all he was eating for the whole day and for the whole week. Is that
Yeah,
possible?
yeah, man. Of course, you can do it all at 30 days, nothing but
So it
one.
has all the new. No, I'm asking you because I know that there are
But
people on the
yeah,
line who is
I know.
going to this.
Yes, of course, you can. I mean, when a cow is eating grass, if you tie the cow in a pasture where one kind of grass in there, it's not gonna.
Makes sense.
And if, and if
Me
you
like
tie,
this because it's just tied into my lifestyle so much because I will eat one thing.
yeah, man, it's even, and that's not an issue because at the end of the day, it comes down to carbon, and that's what it is, you know. So that's what I would say. So my point, what I'm trying to make is that anybody who is going vegan, right? Best way to go is don't limit yourself when you get over there, because you're now coming from a density that you're used to, so you just have to keep going. And one of them is heavy magnetic builders, and one of them is light and more expressive and more energetic. So when you're on the stuff that is light and expressive and energetic, then do more, because you know if you eat a whole of watermelon and your tummy feels so full, by the time you feel like it is too uncomfortable, it just absorbs and digests, and you're ready again. Hey, do that with a pot of dumpling and yam, and tomorrow you mash it. You know, so you can always just keep stocking up on your food. So that's the one of the thing I would encourage persons to do. Um, the next thing I would say is that you know, plan your meals. if you're going to, because one of the things is probably accessibility. Now it's a little bit different, especially in Jamaica here. I've seen that the community where vegetarian offerings and little restaurants and pop-ups are, it's getting wider, and I like that idea
Yeah.
because in order to have persons stay the course, then they need to be able to access these things at different locations, different areas. So, but otherwise than that, plan your meals though. Don't go there. If you're not like me who can just drink a jelly till you get back home, then plan your meals and walk with something, and so forth. On and I already spoke to this, but understand when you're getting certain kind of feeling, why you're getting it, knowing that you're going through a process, as I say, like a plant that is being transplanted, and this is what's happening. So you really just want to manage the process really rather than jump back to what you were doing, you know. So those are the main things I would say, and be creative. Don't think that because you're going vegetarian now it has to be bland and remember one thing we must remember that nobody would pass a bland bird test. So if you dip a chicken into some hot water and boil it and say have this, nobody wants that.
They have to put plants on it and
It
season
has to
that.
be all spices and vegetables really come from that side. So you can do the same with plants. And don't tell me about variety because at the end of the day, there's more variation of vegetables and vegetation on the earth than there is meat kind, right? So, that's what I'm saying. Just so for the person who's going vegetarian, spice it up. Spice it up if that's gonna keep you on. Spice it up. If that's what it takes to keep you there for the time being, then do it. Spice it up. Try different stuff. Don't be afraid. Explore. There's nothing to worry about.
I was so there are some people who say you can't eat fruits, mix your fruits and your vegetables, or there are different thoughts on it.
Right.
What's your take on that? Are you just supposed to eat fruits with fruits, vegetable with vegetable? Can you mix? What's your take where that is concerned?
Well, I mean,
For
you can
example,
do
if
it.
you want to mix fruits and veg in a smoothie or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, it's like each of these questions is like there are levels and there are levels and there are really the heights when you're taking things to the heights. Um, to be honest with you, if you're talking what is ideal, then what you find is that food digests at different timelines. So some foods digest at a faster rate than others, and so you have to be careful of your combinations if you want to have optimal digestion going on and all of that. But one of the worst combination you can have in food combined is mixing a starch and a protein, and that's what we do all the time. One reason for that is that a protein digests in the gut while starch starts its digestion in the mouth. And when the starch, you have to, like piece of yam, you really have to masticate. That's why they normally say chew it 100 times before you swallow. Because that's where the breaking down of the starch is taking place. Maltase in the saliva and things like that. So when you swallow that with your piece of protein, and the protein is really supposed to be digested in the gut area, what's gonna happen is that that starch is gonna hold back that protein. So it's gonna stay there longer than it should, and then it's gonna ferment and it can bloat you and so forth. Yeah, like a watermelon again, now that's eat alone or leave alone for me.
Okay.
Yeah, because it digests so fast. Just think about mixing a watermelon with some pistachio or eating that together. Just the thought of it, eating watermelon with like raspberry or banana. The banana is so slow in its digestion, and watermelon is more expressive. When that banana holds back that watermelon, it's gonna stay in there. Remember, inside very warm and everything. It's gonna ferment. So you're kind of getting your watermelons to turn alcohol. So you never know. You might eat your watermelon with some milkshake, whatever. going down the road and probably you're stopped by the police and they do a breathalyzer test and they say you're under the influence because your watermelon is sitting there for hours turning alcohol inside it, not because you were drinking. So my point is that these are the things, and you don't mix your extremely sweet fruits generally with your acid fruits. And sometimes,
Give some examples of acid fruits.
well, and then we say this, we're talking like fruits that are like acid, more acid tasting, So, for example, everybody knows when you mix like a cherry, with a berry and like a sweet sap, it can have one can slow the other down, you know. So those are little stuff. But I think in a way, when you think about it, sometimes when you think about it, it just feels away, even though we still do it. But like papaya, I mean, papaya can go with almost anything because papaya basically has one of the strongest digestive enzyme there is, which is papain. It's the papaya seeds that we ground down and make what people use as meat tenderizers. So if you get a papaya seed and you break it and you see that little white thing in there, that's the same thing when somebody go to the shop and buy meat tenderizer. That's what it is. So papaya is very good, and first time people would know when anybody used to watch them granny cook. Them grandmother would normally, when them doing these tough chicken, which is the one they run around in the yard, they would normally slice green pepper, and put on it to tenderize the meat. So papaya is generally something that you could get away with when you're mixing it with vegetables because it doesn't inhibit, it aids digestion. It improves digestion because it will break down the food faster. Pineapples too have bromelain in there, and that is why the Germans them had this sweet and sour thing going. It's not necessarily just for taste, but it was to help them to break down the meat, so they would cut up all these pineapple on it because it will make the meat digest better when they eat it. So pineapples have that bromelain there. I mean, which other ones? Apples there, but for the most part though, your vegetables are slower in your digestion and your fruits are quicker. So I would definitely recommend that you keep them separate. Mm.
Royally Shea, he spent a whole lot of time on the protein argument discussion. So you can check when this live is over, you can check the first part, which is already on the page where he speaks a lot about the protein. So we don't have to go over the protein question. Also, China Eyes answered. We do not need. Okay. But if you want the detail and the breakdown of it, watch the first part of the live. Let me see. All right. Some of these questions were answered already. I'm just going to put it on just to answer. So Andy, you said if there's any deficiencies, he also answered that in the first part of the live, so you can watch the first part, but the short answer to that is no deficiency. All right, at this time, I'm just going to bring on just a few, one or two persons to ask their questions in person. So if you are on and you have a question for the Ras Iwara, uh, send that request to join and I'll allow you to ask him your question in person. So send the request as the request come in. Ooh, somebody's here. If you have a question for us, send a request to join the live and you'll just ask the question and then you go. All right. Let's see.
Hi, Iwara.
Krishna.
What's your question, honey?
Hi, Stacia. Thanks for having me again. Boy, yourself. Um, my question to you, Iwara, and it doesn't mean I am, but how is it being while being pregnant? What
How
are
is
the
it?
pros and cons?
How is it what?
As in,
Raw, raw
you're
during
breaking up.
pregnancy.
Ask the question again, Tashna.
Raw, being raw during pregnancy. What are
Okay.
the pros, if any?
Well, again, it comes down to the point of the best thing again is this, right? It is really coming down to what is the most healthy state. And the healthier the mommy is going to be healthier everything, you know. And health comes through the fact that are you really, what are your ideal foods? And we find that again, mother's breast milk is mainly what? Carbon, 7 point something percent. Mother's breast milk is mainly sugar. Cells is what makes us up, and cells needs carbon to convert it into adenosine triphosphate energy. So at the end of the day, pregnancy, all of that, a fruit-based, plant-based diet is ideal. It is the
So what
best
about
thing.
those persons, Iwara, who said they can't do it right now because they're pregnant? What would you say to them?
No, I'm not recommending people to
No, no, I
do.
mean, I'm just
No,
saying.
I know. What happened is that in pregnancy, we're in building mode. We're not in detoxification mode, you know.
Mhm.
So, I mean, say for example, now, what we have is that we have fruits that are builders, but
Okay.
it's still within the fruit kingdom. So, for example, like avocado, dry coconut. I wouldn't detox on these, but now a pregnant mommy, I would feed her on avocado, dry coconut, olives, you know, those
Okay.
healthy fats. So you want to put those in and so forth. That point in time, that's the time for those things that you will, what you will do now is up your quantity of those, your healthy fats, you know,
Okay.
and rather than, so you're not in detox mode. I wouldn't really go on herbal botanicals at that point in time because it's not time for detoxifying because you could lose your newborn because you're trying to express, you know.
Okay.
So
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 more.
at that point in time you're eating, you're feeding, and you're feeding, you're not really trying to detox at that point in time. So it's all right to have your healthy fats at that point in time.
So more. So the healthy fats. That's what you feed on.
Right, your coconut creams. I mean, a lot of people will talk about your other stuff like your omega threes and so forth, but I don't. I really realize in nature that nature normally comes with omega sixes for the most part, you know, in terms of on a natural form. And what happened is that you're really supposed to consume your omega six and allow your body to convert those sixes into threes. That's
Mhm.
what really supposed to happen. So don't when you eat your dry coconut, like your raw coconut cream, that's your omega six, and in good health, your body will convert that into trees and so forth. So really and
In good
truly,
health.
yeah, yeah, man, your body will, and that's the whole point. Your body will do all of that because I don't recommend. My point is this, right? I don't recommend supplementation for the most part unless we're in a crisis. And this information that I'm giving out is just in a general sense. But
Mhm.
in a crisis, I can recommend some supplementation. And that's what it is. It's because I'm in a crisis situation. It's just like if somebody them in a accident and the man get chopped off. I know, don't bring them to me and tell them about food. You send them to the hospital, and it's body mechanic you need there right there. In a crisis. But what happened is that, say for example, a pregnant mommy, supplements is gonna shut your glands down after a while. So the very reason why, you know, when you bring in supplementation, then your glands, like your endocrine system, which is responsible for sending signals and all that stuff, they are now seeing that you're bringing in this external chemistry. They are the ones who are responsible for triggering and sending signals for this to happen. And you're bringing in this external chemistry. So they're going to stop working. And that's why when people go on steroids, they can't just take you off, they have to wean you. You understand? Because your glands are shut down once you bring in the steroids. And if you just take them off the steroids, then the glands are not going to chick back in right away. So they have to wean you off steroids. So I don't want to supplement unless it's totally necessary. I mean, when I say totally necessary, because that's just going to make you lose your gland function. And what you will find is this. Somebody doing supplements, and the minute you bring in the supplements, they're feeling better. That's like a horse start to gallop because you're whipping it. Not because it's naturally and gracefully wants to run fast. It's because it's feeling the whip. So you whip your body with supplements and you feel good. Then after a while, the body is getting used to that. So you up your dosage, right? And then after a sudden, no matter how you up the dosage, it can't help you no more. You know, the more the glands go down, the more you up your dosage. It's an unnatural process because you're bringing external chemistry. You know, take for example, calcium generally comes with the presence of magnesium for proper absorption. And some person make a calcium tablet and they didn't bring magnesium in there. They give you this calcium supplement. It shuts your pituitary gland. So I'm saying just keep it things in the whole form, whole foods, and that's how it's the best way. We can't continue to think that we can better nature. No, we cannot. No.
Thank you, Tashna. You can.
Thanks, Iwara. Thanks,
Bye.
Tasha.
Bye, Tashna.
Cancel it, and I'll ask somebody else to come on.
Okay. Oh, I do not know. Tasha, help me.
I don't mind if you stay.
All right, I'll just log off Instagram and come back on.
All right.
Oh, it is me.
Thank you. All right. If you have a question to ask, and you want to ask it live, remember it has to be relevant to the topic. So I don't want to call you on and then you come with some foolishness. So, all right. I'm going to brave this. Okay, let's see. All right, let's adjust. Hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
So my question is, what would you say is the ideal combination of foods for someone who has limited access to fruits and
You're
vegetables?
breaking up.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think you said what is the ideal combination of foods for somebody having limited access to fruits and vegetables?
Yes.
Well, I tell you, my first thing was to say get out of that environment. I mean, we have to understand why we end up with a syllabus in our school that says, you know, you must eat meat for protein and all of that. You see, we're a tropical species. Man is a tropical species. And so when we migrated and keep going closer to the north, where there is less fruits and vegetables, less vegetation growing because of the climatic conditions, and so we can turn to different things for survival. And in that case, you don't really quarrel. It's just a survival thing, you know? And you could have one bear in Africa and he's eating a particular way, and you carry that bear up to the north in Canada or somewhere and leave it there, and you will find that it slightly changes its diet. It's not doing that because of, you know, it's naturally is. It's really because it's forced to. It's because of the situation. So in that sense, you're saying you'd have limited access to fruits and vegetables. I don't know. You're gonna go back to yeah, because when you say fruits and vegetables, are you also talking about your starches, your peas, your beans, your yams, and whatever?
Well, it would not include the peas and beans, but it's more so like tropical fruit. So the
Oh,
mango.
so tropical fruits. Well, I mean, you could start to think of quinoa. They're kind of like a healthy grain to some degree. They still have enzyme inhibitors in there. They still have strong enzyme inhibitors. And an enzyme inhibitor is causing those foods to be dormant. That's why they have shelf life. So what you want to do before you have them is soak them. Some of them, you sprout them. So that's the next best thing I would recommend. If I'm in some country and I can't, get fruits and vegetables the greater access to that, then some walnuts. But then it's the methodology of preparation now that I will examine. So in that case, what you want to do, because your nuts, when they're outside of their natural environment, come in, and the life force of that nuts is no longer active, it becomes dormant. To reactivate the life force, we soak them, nuts and seeds, generally for 12 hours, right? Some nut seeds, like a sunflower, will be ready in 8 hours, but in order for you not to micromanage, and I can't tell you the different hours for each, 12 hours is good for all of them. You soak your nuts and your seeds for 12 hours. That will now help to also convert that complex starch to a simpler sugar. And if it's a grain, like, your quinoas and your millets and your stuff, then you want to sprout them. Your chickpea, and you want to sprout them and make your hummus, blend it. You don't have to cook them. Get a blender, sprout your beans, throw them in there, spice it up with your onion and your different, make a dip. So that's what I would say. Your walnuts, your almonds, those things. Make some nut meat, grounded almond seeds with your spices and so forth, and then do as much of that limited nut fruits and veg as best as you can. But that's the next best thing then. But then, as I said to you, it's gonna be now coming down to your methodology. You don't want to be eating them cooked. So, you want to blend your nut milks. So you pour your almonds in your blender, put your dry coconuts in there, add coconut water, blend that, strain it through a straining bag, and drink that as a nut milk. Keep it alive just the same. Keep it alive just the same. Soak and sprout. And then that will be the best recommendation outside and not having, access to your live, fresh fruits and veg right away. Your tropical fruits.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let me see if there is anybody else. Iwara, when you're ready to, when you're ready to leave, tell me, because these people have a lot of questions for you. So just.
No, I'm serving my community.
All right. I saw some questions. Okay. Resend for those who, because I saw that some persons had sent the request. Resend it. Okay. All right.
Hi. Good night. Good night.
Pleasant.
Thank you so much for coming on. I'm learning a lot of information.
You can ask your question.
Yes, we're here.
Okay, my question was, are there any hybrid fruits, vegetables that we should avoid, or are they all good? What is your take on that?
Right. Okay, that's a very good question. In the more pristine way, we would love to have heirloom stuff, and that would be most ideal. Pushing along, what I would say to people though is that I have looked through this and I've experienced it and gone through it with clients who I've been working with. One thing I can tell you is that the worst store-bought fruits are better than anything else. because of the
Say
chemistry.
that again. Say that again. Say that again.
I'm saying the worst about fruits because my clients who know, who I've been working with, who are in California, New Jersey, and these places that tell me, like, listen, they're having their issues, and I recommend fruits, and they have to go in the store and pick it up, and they can't find organic and everything, and they go on their programs and fruits, and we solve the issues. We've been solving issues with the worst store-bought fruits. So the worst fruits you can find in the areas is always better to be on than be on other things.
Ooh.
Because at the end of the day, the foods that you're going to be eating outside of what we recommended is what? From the get-go, the chemistry of it is on the acid side. So they're already aggressive and corrosive. You know, so in all honesty, I still say, you know, go with your fruits. Go with
Wow.
What about seedless fruits?
what about what?
Seedless, like grapes with no
Yeah,
seeds. Like
I
I'm in
mean,
Canada, you mostly find
yeah,
watermelons, no seeds,
right, right.
grapes, no seeds.
And to be honest with you, right, let me give you an example. If you have some seedless grapes and seedless watermelons, those are never our recommendation. Our recommendation is generally heirloom fruits, right? But hear what? If you are having a problem, and I am going to recommend a program for you, Stacia is going to give you yam, rice, these kind of things. And I'm in a position where all I have is seedless grapes, seedless watermelon, and I put you on that. You are going to be better off, and you are going to see some difference. Way, way, way.
Wow.
That's just the,
Okay,
that's
thank
just the
you so
fact. I
much.
mean, we can't go around it. It's not something that I would love to say outright, but it is
Yeah,
the truth.
because
What else am I gonna say? I've tried it, meaning I've had clients who have been detoxing, and they have to sometimes accommodate those things because they can't get otherwise, and they still come through. They still see a result. You know, put them on other stuff, heavy density and all that stuff. It's not gonna go there. It's not gonna go anywhere.
wow.
So I understand that's a concern within our community. And sometimes I have to be careful because I at one point I wanted to mention it, but again too, we're in a global village, we're speaking globally, and people sometimes the more you start to limit them, then you know they never jump on board because they're always trying to find the most ideal time and thing to jump on board, and there's none in a sense, you know. So really and truly, if you're here in the tropics and you're having everything that is coming from a seed, because that's really where the gig is, that's really where it all is. If you can make sure, because that's what a fruit is. A fruit is anything that is bringing back its seed.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a fruiting body of a plant, and so that's where it is. I think even, I mean, I don't get in religious, but I mean, I think it's even mentioned in Genesis that, you know, so
1 in 29.
yeah, exactly. So the point I'm saying is that we understand that, but we still realize that people do better in detoxification on those things than just being on these yams, potatoes, you know, starches and all that density, for sure. For sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
most
you.
welcome.
Let me
Thanks.
see who else. You can just log all right, let me bring on this person.
The community has some real nice questions. They're great.
Waiting on this. Okay. I'm not seeing your face, so position your camera properly.
Hi. I didn't even
Hi.
realize I was on. Hi, good night.
It's a
Now
good night.
you can ask your
I
question.
am Bobette. So
Hi, Bobby.
listen, I am acidic. I'm not going to fix it up. I'm acidic.
Mm-hmm.
And I am below the 7.0.
Mm-hmm.
So I once came off of meat
Mm-hmm.
and I went back on meat. So I don't know. But I know I'm supposed to be more alkaline. and now I have found myself being too acidic.
Right.
So my question is this now: is it the meat that I need to cut out, or what could my diet more be like now? What should my diet be more like?
Right.
I see
Right.
that laugh. Yeah.
Right. Well, again, you know, if you're being burnt by acids,
Mm-hmm.
the thing is that we have to look at our foods and look at the chemistry of it and say which one of these foods are really on the acid sides. Now, your meats, they're on the nitrogen side. Now, nitrogen, if you ask a chemistry teacher, or your chemistry teacher say to you, group the elements of your periodic table. When you group these elements, you would end up with a group with base chemistry, or what we call alkaline, and you'll end up with a group that is called acid chemistry, the acid side. Now, nitrogen will be on the acid side, while calcium would be on the base side. Now, what happened is that proteins, meats, and so forth, amino acids, it's already saying it. It says amino acid.
Acids.
So those are on the acid side of chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Now, our acid side of chemistry, if you get a chemistry exam and it says list the property of an acid group, you could put that it's aggressive and it's corrosive. On the other hand, if you get the question and say list the property of a base group, you could say that it is nurturing and it also has the ability to neutralize an acid. So you having a strong bleach and you want to cut down the strength of that bleach, you pour water.
Water.
So you having an acidic situation and you want to neutralize that, then you bring in what? Base chemistry. Now, one of the things is this. Why have we been able to eat starches, meat, and so forth that is acidifying the body and get away with it? Well, hear what? The body is always, there's two sides. You know, the lymphatic side of the body is the acid side. The blood, right? The blood system is the base side. So that's the balance. The blood system, which is nutrients. The blood system is nutrients, and that is on the base side because it is nutrients, and that is the same root word for nurturing. So that's on the base side. While on the acid side, right, is your suid side. So all your nutrients, when converted into ATP, adenosine triphosphate energy, that goes to the blood side. All your suid side of your chemistry goes over into your lymphatic system. Now, your blood has to be maintained at a pH, or generally has to be maintained at a pH of about 7.4. It's on the base side. Now, every time you hit your body with acid foods, acid chemistry, meat, starch, and so forth, you're bringing down your blood pH. But the reason you get away with that is because your body knows that that is an immediate catastrophe. And to avoid that immediate catastrophe, what do you think it does? It pulls base chemistry and buffer that acidity that is going to take place. And the most available base chemistry we have in our body is calcium, then our magnesium. So every time you eat that piece of meat and it's bringing down your blood pH, your body is pulling calcium from your bones and buffering it because it can't allow that immediate catastrophe to take place. Because tell you what, if your blood pH gets too acidic, I think I don't know how long you will last. So even when you're trying to bring it down, your body is always trying to compensate, knowing that it can't allow this catastrophe. So now you're losing your calcium, you're losing your magnesium. And that's when you start to have all kinds of issues. It's just that the body rather to give you that long-term issue than the immediate catastrophe. So the truth is, if you don't want to rob yourself of calcium and magnesium, then eat base. Because there's no need for your body now to pull the calcium out of your bones. And that's why later on in life, a lot of people end up with all these bone issue, brittle bones and so forth. Because we've been pulling calcium back. Because your body has to do that every time you eat acid foods, and on the
Acidic.
acid
So,
side of chemistry trying to bring down your blood pH, your body is always going to protect that. So now it's going to pull your calcium and your magnesiums. So for
Wow.
me, in your situation, the best thing to do is just do what? Eat the base fruits and veggies. Eat base. Eat base. So just go base chemistry and allow that
Mhm.
base to neutralize the acidity that's taking place. And then you will also be preserving what already base you're having, which is your calcium and your magnesium. Because now your body wouldn't have to be pulling those base chemistry to buffer the acidity that is going to take place.
thank
So
you.
that's really
Thank
what you want to
you.
do.
So you can cancel now. You can come off now, Bobby. Thank you for
All
All
your
right.
right.
Thank
question.
you, Bobby. Take care.
All right. Night, night.
Night, night.
Oh, Lord. All right. I
Um,
just went.
you don't know how to do it? I have to
Yes,
bring up
I get
somebody
you.
else, so you have to cut off.
Cancel.
All right, log out and then you can log back in. Um, just to add to that, is that why we get arthritis or that don't have nothing to do with arthritis? Oh, that's why. Oh, okay.
Well, that's help because what happened is that no, mainly arthritic conditions though is mainly when you have sickly enough acids in your joints, you're burning up. It's the same thing like what gout is and so forth. But then when your bones is void of calcium and then you have acids that are burning it, then it burns up quicker. So yeah.
Okay, I'm looking to see if there are any other questions. All right, I'm going to bring on, I think this is a male, the first male. Let's see. Hi,
Hi,
just say your name so we can know.
TLDI.
ISIS.
Yes, I. No, it's I Taba, but that's just for the for the Instagram name.
Okay, what's your
Mm.
question?
Yeah, I was just think I'm a vegan, so I was thinking about going raw. I have all the equipment and everything, because your idol is my idol, which is Aris Latam. Supposed to even go do a program soon. But here in New York a base, I was thinking about how to approach. I'm not fully in.
Um, is everybody hearing properly? Because it sounds a bit on the breakup side or like an echo on my side. So just let me know if you're hearing properly. Just say yes in the comments if you're hearing him properly without a feedback. Are you
Yeah,
seeing the yes? You
no,
see yes?
uh,
Okay, all right.
yeah. So
All right. So
how would
ask
you?
your question.
You hearing me?
Yeah, man, go
Yeah,
ahead.
Yeah. No,
yeah.
asking how would you approach the raw life going forward, like based in New York?
Okay. Well, I don't know if I can speak to that in the best way because I've never been there.
Oh,
But just hearing from a lot of persons who are and reasoning with persons in those zones. I mean, first of all, there's a repository of information when it comes to raw now. It's not that niche like it used to be, and it's not that information is not readily available. So I don't know if you say going forward in terms of in your meal preparation, like what to do, how to prepare. I don't
yeah,
know if that's
most like that because like I have even a DIG that we are by and a food processor.
yeah, man. I mean, just if you, I can tell you right now, if you go into YouTube and just put dehydrated foods, you see so much coming up. There's so much free recipes and online recipes. Buy a book, get into it, and just become creative. What I want to tell you though is that, right, your equipment comes after what real food is, because the fresh foods is the best.
Yeah.
So But I mean, dehydration help
What?
you to preserve and
Iwara, the second part is Instagram has given me another warning, so it's 13 seconds left. Are you willing to come back for a part three? Let me know, and I'll just come back on as soon as this.
all right, because I would love to finish up the bridging.